Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Xiang Show. So this is the third time I've tried recording this, and hopefully this sticks this time. The first time, I don't even remember what happened the first time I tried recording this. Second time, I forgot to mention something, and it would have been a little too awkward trying to edit it in. And then the third time's a charm, let's hope. So as you can tell from today's title and thumbnail, we are doing a reading vlog for my birthday month, for November. I am a Scorpio through and through, and I don't seem like a Scorpio, I know, but I am. Excuse me. So I have 4 books on this list. Part of why I wanted to do this reading vlog was to kind of buffer out my reading goal. Not that the reading goal is important. If you're reading, at the end of the day, that is what is important. It doesn't matter if you read 1 book a year. It doesn't matter if you read 100 books a year. If you're reading, then that's what counts. So part of it, like I said, was to buffer out my reading goal, and also part of it was just to kind of buffer out my reading a little bit more, because I am doing a series read through of Heaven Official's Blessing. And the series read through for that is going to be in 2 parts coming out next year. I'm not sure when that exactly is coming out, but I will have both part 1 and part 2 linked down below in the description when they do come out, as well as the dates. The links won't work initially until they get published, because like I've talked about on this channel before, I tend to schedule videos in advance to be published on certain days at certain times, which is how I'm able to get videos out every Friday. Which is how I'm able to get videos out regularly every Friday, and then also how I get my book tag videos out and any other videos. So a lot of my videos are scheduled in advance. So I'm like I said, I'm not quite sure when the Heaven Official's Blessing series read through will be up, but I'll have them both linked down below in the description. I'll have a better idea once part 1 is scheduled, and I'll have all the dates for both. It'll be like Friday, and then the next Friday is when part 1 and part 2 will be out. So just to buffer it out while this reading vlog is also partly just to buffer out my reading for the end of the year, while I'm also reading Heaven Official's Blessing. So it's just to kind of buffer, just to give myself some more options to read while I'm also reading Heaven Official's Blessing. So I have 4 books on this list. You can see the top one already. And then I also have 3 books coming from Book of the Month. Well, I have 4 books coming. I have 3 books coming from Book of the Month, a 4th coming from Barnes & Noble as a pre-order. 2 of the books are going to be gifts. My pre-order from Barnes & Noble and 1 of the books in my Book of the Month box are going to be gifts for a friend, are going to be part of my friend's Christmas gift. So there's those 2, and then 2 books are going to be mine, which I'll be adding to my shelf. I might add them into this reading vlog, we'll see. So I'll have those listed in my books mentioned list down below in the description. All of these books are mentioned down below in the description for what I mentioned here, just because I want to, just because 1, I'm not going to read all of these, and 2, if there are books that I don't read and just don't mention again, but you were interested in it, I want a solidified list down below in the description for you all. Anyway, so I have the 4 books coming, and then I'm also going to be going to Barnes & Noble for my birthday, so I might get another book. I'm going to try to keep it at 1. It might end up being 2, depending on any potential sales. So there's that, and then yeah, this is just going to be a very chill reading vlog. No pressure, no strings attached. I'm just gonna try to read what I can. And down below in the description, this is the first time I'm doing something like this, is I'm also mentioning my star ratings for these books down below in the description. So in that section, I have it as the little descriptory part, and then books mentioned, and then star ratings. And then I'll also mention if I if I didn't read a book, I'll just say did not read instead of putting a star rating. So that's how the description is set up, so you can kind of see what my star rating was for any of the books that I read. So to talk about the books, and I'm trying to be better about giving descriptions as well. So the first book is Malice by Gwynne, and this one I had started to read earlier in the year, and I did a soft DNF, which for me and many other readers just basically means like it's a DNF you want to try again at a later point. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that within this video. I kind of want to, just to get it knocked out of the park, because I do think I will like this, but it's like 628 pages, and that is a lot. And this series I think has like 5 books, so it's like 5 books that are 500 plus pages. That's like 2,500 pages minimum, bare minimum. Again, this one's 600, so it's like 2,600 pages. So there's that. So it's like 2,600 pages. That's like a lot of dedication to one series, and like kudos to him for writing a 5-book series that's like 500 plus pages. Like I know for me that like getting through the Bloodsworn series, like I love that series, but that was like 1,500 pages. Now add another 1,000 pages, it's like, oh boy. So like I said, I'm trying to be better about giving descriptions. So the world is broken. Corban wants nothing more than to be a warrior under King Brennan's rule, to protect and serve. But that day will come all too soon, and the price he pays will be in blood. Ibanez has sacrificed too much. Ibanez has sacrificed too much, it seems. But what he wants, the power to rule, will soon be in his grasp, and nothing will stop him once he has started on his path. Veratus is the newest member of the warband for the High Prince, Nather. He is one of the most skilled swordsmen to come out of his homeland, yet he is always under the shadow of his older brother. Nather has ideas, and a lot of plans. Many of them don't involve his father, the High King Aquilus, nor does he agree with his father's idea to summon his fellow kings to council. I was holding my breath a little bit there. The Banished Lands has a violent past where armies of men and giants clashed in battle, but now giants start anew. Stones weep blood, and there are sightings of giant worms, WYRMS. So like the miniature dragons, I guess you could say. They're not miniature, but they're just smaller dragons. That's the simplest way to put it. Those who can still read signs, the signs are words. Those who can still read the signs see threats far greater than the ancient wars. For if the black sun gains ascendancy, mankind's hopes and dreams will fall to dust, and it can never be made whole again. So that's what this one is about, and it's very similar to the Bloodsworn series, and kind of like from what it seems like in plot build-up. But this one is like 5 books, so we'll see how it goes. After reading the Bloodsworn series, I am kind of expecting like more characters to be introduced in books 2 and later. So I'm expecting that a little bit more now. That caught me off guard in the Bloodsworn series when I was introduced to like 2 or 3 more characters in book 2. We'll see if I have a similar situation with this that I did with the Bloodsworn series, where it's like you have 4 main characters with this one. With the Bloodsworn series, we had the 3 main characters. I only cared about one of them. I didn't care about 2/3 of the main cast, the main trio. So we'll see if that happens again with this, where it's like I only care about one of them. I hope it doesn't happen again, but we'll see. And then, okay, next up is a book of the month book that I got in October, and that is, geez, I'm getting distracted easily. One second. The next book, like I started to say, is Red City by Mademoiselle. And when I was reading the description the second time I tried to do this, I realized this was Romeo and Juliet. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's like I feel like I keep unintentionally picking. I picked it up intentionally once, but I feel like I keep picking up Romeo and Juliet retellings unintentionally. And it's like, why do I keep doing this? Again, not that Romeo and Juliet is bad, but it's like, and it's one of Shakespeare's most popular plays. But I think once I mentioned that it's my favorite play, which wasn't like the full truth. It's like the main one that I know, really. Just because it's so oversaturated in media. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just oversaturated. I don't think it's overhyped because it's hyped up for very valid reasons. It's just very oversaturated in retellings and reworkings and inspirations. So I don't think it's a bad thing. And again, it's very relatable, it's very presentable, very easily presentable to any and all ages. So it's totally understandable and totally valid. I'm not a big Shakespearean play person, which I think at the end of the day is part of it. So to give you the description for Red City, alchemy is the hidden art of transformation, an exclusive powder wielded by crime syndicates that markets it to the world's elites in the form of sand, a drug that enhances those who take it into a more perfect version of themselves. More beautiful, more charismatic, simply more. Among the gleaming skyscrapers and the rolling foothills of Angel City, alchemy is controlled by two rival syndicates. For years, Grand Central and Lumines have been balanced on a razor's edge between polite negotiation and outright violence. But when two childhood friends step into that delicate equation, the city and the paths of their lives will be irrevocably changed. That's all I'm going to read. I'm having a little bit of a hard time reading the descriptions right now, but I think that's all you really need to know. And I do like the kind of, this isn't the first like Romeo and Juliet like syndicate. What was that one? I read it last year, I think, or the year before. Why am I blanking? It's by Chloe Gong. Chloe Gong books. Oh, she's a New Zealander. She's a Kiwi. These Violent Delights. One second. So it was her These Violent Delights duology. So it was These Violent Delights and Her Violent Ends. It seems like putting it in like a crime syndicate type situation. Crime world. Or battling. I mean, it's easy to have like battling family type deal with crime syndicates. But it seems like putting Romeo and Juliet into that kind of a situation, like into a somewhat futuristic crime syndicate type deal, that seems to be gaining a lot of popularity. And I did really like These Violent Delights. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite. Again, I'm just not a huge Shakespearean play person. So it's like, I didn't love it probably as much as people who like Romeo and Juliet probably would like it, or even other Shakespearean fans like it. So it's like, it wasn't my cup of tea. This Red City probably won't be my cup of tea. It just sounded really interesting and I really like the cover. So hopefully I will like it enough to want to hold on to it. We'll see. So if anything, I can always just give it to my local library or give it to a couple of bookstores that take donations. We'll just see how it all goes. 1 second. Sorry, I was just having a little bit of trouble breathing for a second, but we're okay. So the next two books are both by the same author, and they're rereads for me just because I've been kind of considering unhauling them. I don't want to unhaul them just because for both of them together I'd spent like close to $60 for both of them. Especially like once I realized that one came out, I was so excited to get this same edition for the other book. Let me actually put it in that order. So like once I saw it, like the first book I'll talk about, once I saw that it was coming out, that it had gonna come out and that it got it, once it came out, I was really excited for the same version, like the same edition for the other book. So there's the price that I paid for both of them. It was like about $30 for each, roughly. So $60 in total for both of them. And also just the fact that I was so excited for these editions, then I'm a little bit reluctant. But also part of it too part of it too is the fact that when I first read these, I did really love these and did really enjoy these. I do prefer one over the other, but like I did really love these and really enjoy these. And it's not that I think my opinions will drastically change after rereading them, but it's like I don't think I'll love them as much as I did when I first read them. And part of it too is that I don't want, like, I've kind of gotten into the mindset where it's like I don't want to hold onto books that I don't think you have to hold on to books just for the sole purpose of rereading them. You can hold on to a book because you really loved it. You can hold on to a book because you really enjoyed the author. Like, you read it once, really enjoyed the author's other works, and so you're holding on to that one specific book. Or it can be a situation where it's like you're holding on to it because it was like a sequel to the first book. It's like, I don't think you will have to hold on to books just to reread it. But for me, at least, there are some books where it's like, these are books where it's like, for specific books, these are books that if I don't reread them, for me, I don't see as much of a point holding on to them. And it's like, this author, I really love her writing. It's very unique, it's not flowery, but it's like, I really liked her writing too, but it's like, she's not an auto-buy author. She's not an author that I'm like actively searching out. She's not an author that I'm like trying to be like, I wonder when she has another book coming out, or oh, I forgot she published like this book a little bit later, I need to go buy that. Like, there are authors where I'm like, okay, I need to go get their other books when I have a chance, and she's just not one of those authors for me. So I'm using this reading log as an opportunity to try rereading these and just finally decide if I want to hold on to these books or not. So the first one is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Again, she's a fantastic writer, but just not a favorite author of mine. And this book belongs to. And like, okay, that's kind of a bummer actually. I kind of feel bad for like this edition almost, because with the other book, Circe, it's like, I'll show this again in a little bit. But Circe has these inner page designs, whereas like Song of Achilles, and then like the edges are just a solid orange. But Song of Achilles, it's just like a solid blue. I kind of wish they'd done an ocean with this and like boats. Like, it doesn't have to, like they had time before releasing. Anyway, in the Song of Achilles, you're following Achilles and Patroclus and their love story, and kind of how it's slightly hidden. Not hidden, but there is a slight forbiddenness to it. And I did really like this, although I do think this one was oversaturated, and for good reason. It was hyped up for a good reason. I do agree with the hype for this book. I just think it was oversaturated because like there are so many people who, like, I mean, I say it too, but like with historians who say like, oh, they were just roommates, when it's like two guys who were like buried in the same grave, and there's like hints that they lived together. It's like, oh, they were just roommates, they were just friends. Obviously not. They weren't just friends. So I feel like that was like a perfect embodiment of that sentiment. Like, they weren't just friends, you guys, they were lovers. This is like the perfect sentiment of that and embodiment of that. And I do think that this was worth the hype. I didn't prefer this one as much as Circe, and like, this is like the lead up to the Trojan War, so the Iliad, but by Homer, or at least most famously told by Homer. And the Iliad is not my favorite. If I were to take a look at like a lot of the epic poems that I personally have read, the Aeneid and Beowulf are probably my favorites of the epics. So Iliad is not my favorite. It would probably be like the Aeneid and Beowulf, and then the Odyssey, and then the Iliad. Although we are getting an Ilium musical from Jorge. So, which I am really excited about. But, yeah. Song of Achilles. And then in Circe, you're following the titular character, Circe. And she is the daughter of a Titan, the Titan deity of the sun, Helios, and then an Oceanid nymph. And you're following her story of how she gets to her island, and then also her perspective of at least her events for the Odyssey. So I really like how we got her perspective of this, and I feel like we need more of that with mythology retellings, which is also why I really liked Alessa Thorne's books, because you got like some of the female perspective. So these are the 4 books that I'm going to be focusing on in this reading vlog. As for the one that I'm going to read first, I think I'm going to try Red City first. Just to like, because I think this one is the one I just kind of want to know right from the start, like, okay, is this something I'm going to want to hold on to? Is this something I'm going to want to keep reading? And this is, like, I feel like this one is the most unknown to me, so I just want to know it. Whereas, like, with the other 3, I know John Gwynne's writing, and then Madeline Miller, those 2 books I've already read. So, we're going with Red City. Okay, so we're not too far from starting this video. I got to about 13% in the Red City. I think I was at like 57. Let me double check. Yeah, I was at page 57. So right here. Is it like titled differently? I don't know. I think those are supposed to be the chapter numbers. So it was Ashes is where I was at. At least that's what the E means up here. And then Ari's perspective. And I feel like this, the way I kind of explained it in my explanation for the story graph in my DNF, is that it was an impulsive buy because, like, sprayed edges, exclusive, you know, and it seemed like it would be up my alley, sort of. But once I read the description and kind of started to understand it a little bit more and saw that it was more Romeo and Juliet-y, more Romeo and Juliet-esque, I feel like I would be more disappointed in having this be an impulsive buy and not enjoying it. I feel like I would be more disappointed by that if I didn't already know that Romeo and Juliet retellings are just not really my thing. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this right now. I might gift it to my library. I might donate it somewhere else. We'll see. I'll figure it out, but yeah, we're gonna choose the next book now. Also, before we choose the next book, I got this in my October Book of the Month box. I think it was my October one. Yeah, it was. And, like, the only thing that kind of annoys me, I just picked up Colors of the Flower Moon, which I have read. The only thing that kind of annoys me is that it seems a little too small for their own books. Like, it's a little bit of a struggle getting it in there. Like, do you think that they would give you... And, like, you have to actively, like, pull around the corners. Like, you think that they would actively give... Or, not actively. You think that they would give you, like, a little case that would fit more of the sizes better. Like, this one, it did okay. Colors of the Flower Moon, it did okay with. But to show how it was with Red City, because... Okay, so I'm going to put it in this way to not damage the corners too much. But it's like, you can't just slide it straight in. It gets, one of the corners is bound to get caught. And then it's a little bit of a struggle getting in it. And it's not easily fitting around there. And again, you kind of have to actively pull it around stuff, which on the one hand, I don't really mind. But it's like, you think that they would have, honestly, I think that they would have made it a little bit easier to get a book in and out of here. So I do like the size of it though. I wish there was like a strap, because this would be like just like a perfect little book bag to take if I just wanted to take like my book, my phone, and then like any little things. There's a side pocket right here, where it's like I don't have to bring an actual purse or have pockets in my outfits. I love pockets, do not get me wrong. We need more pockets in women's clothing. But it's like, I don't want to be having to put this in like into a separate bag, or have a separate bag just for like my phone and my wallet and stuff, you know? So those are my two main gripes with this. But going back to choosing the next book. So I don't think that I'm ready for Malice just yet. Again, I might not be ready for it within this video, and that's okay. It's just right now, I do not know if I am up for Circe or Song of Achilles yet either. And it might be one of those situations where, like, okay, I talked about it before, little sidetrack here. I've talked about it here before. I'm not the best at sticking with TBR piles like I used to be, but now that I think a large part of me being better with TBR piles in the past was the fact that I had a larger ratio of unread books to read books, but now the ratio is more tilting in favor of read books. I have more read books now than unread books on my shelf. So it was easier like back then to stick to TBR piles a little bit more, because I was in ratio, I had more unread books to keep up with. But now it's like, because I rely on Libby and Hoopla and my physical library, it's a little bit harder to gauge when I will have access to a book, whether it's audio or physical or an ebook. So it's a little bit harder for me to stick to a TBR pile now. But the reason why I mentioned the books I wanted to read in this video is just so I can have some sort of guideline where it's like, if I'm really not feeling like any other book, or I don't have another book, then I can follow on those ones. So, but right now I'm not really feeling the three that I had talked about. So I am kind of just gonna go through my shelf real quick. I can't read I could read The Hobbit, but I've already read it for the year, and I'm listening, like what I do is I play the audiobooks for The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings while I'm going to bed, and I don't count those. But I read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings officially once a year. And I've already had my once a year for this. I'm not quite sure. Now, because it's November and I am already in the Christmas mood, I could do A Christmas Carol. That just feels a little too short right now. I also have some books on my bottom shelf that I could do. Now, I could reread some of my manga. Let me take a look at... Okay, the manga I could read would be The Apothecary Diaries, Delicious in Dungeon, Fruits Basket, and Inuyasha, or any of my graphic novels, manhwa type deal. I could read those. Why is that one up there? God, I have to forget about it. I'm not quite sure what I want to read right now. Okay, I think I've made a decision, and we are going with Letters from Father Christmas, edited by Bailey Tolkien, by JRR Tolkien, and these are a collection of letters that Tolkien wrote to his children as Father Christmas, as Santa Claus. And again, since basically November 1st rolls around, I'm in Christmas mode. I love Halloween, but the minute November 1st hits, I'm Christmas mode. So I think this will be a nice little read. I read that wrong. So, oh, jeez. Okay, we're good. So, this first page says, JRR Tolkien Letters from Father Christmas Centenary Edition. I read that as Cemetery Edition, so I was like, that's kind of morbid, and I reread it. So at the beginning, kind of where the usual, like, not epitaph, the usual dedication is, it says, well, here comes Christmas, that astonishing thing that no commercialism can defile unless we let it. I think at this point we've let it. And in this one, like I said, you're just following the letter, reading the letters Tolkien wrote to his kids as Father Christmas, but to give you the description on the back. Every December, an envelope bearing a stamp from the North Pole would arrive for JRR Tolkien's children. Inside would be a letter in strange spidery handwriting and a beautiful color drawing. They were from Father Christmas, telling the wonderful tales of life at the North Pole. How all the reindeer got loose and scattered presents all over the place. How the accident-prone polar bear climbed the North Pole and fell through the roof of Father Christmas's house into the dining room. How there was, how there were wars with the troublesome horde of goblins who lived in the caves beneath the house. From the first note to Tolkien's eldest son in 1920, and the final poignant letter to his daughter in 1943, this new edition celebrates the centenary of that first letter with a stocking full of charming letters, pictures, and decorated envelopes. It is a festive feast for readers of all ages. So, yeah, I think this is like really sweet. What I would do in my letters to Santa when I was growing up is I would pretty consistently ask about Mrs. Claus and the reindeer. I would ask how they were doing and just make sure they were doing okay and tell Santa to let them know I said hi. And then I would get into asking about my wish list. And then what my mom would do for us is she would leave like a little note on the napkins after, like, once Santa had eaten the cookies. Santa would leave a little letter on a napkin saying, thank you for the cookies, they were delicious. Shanna, Mrs. Claus, and the reindeer are doing great, thank you for asking. So, yeah. This will be a nice Christmassy read to get in the mood. So, yeah, this is what we're gonna read. And we're going with the vibes here because that's what I need. Okay, so since the whole point of this is a reading vlog, my armrest is up. So, and the other one's up. Jesus. So, for me, one moment. So, I currently have 4 books on my currently reading pile, which is more than I want. Like, not that it's a bad thing, but I know that once I start getting too many, fixing something. I know that for me, once I start getting too many books on my currently reading pile, then that's when I start potentially heading to a reading slump because I don't know what to focus on, and then I don't want to read, and then I'm in a reading slump. So, I currently have volume 4 because I finished volume 3 of Heaven Official's Blessing, and I've started volume 4. So, but again, we're not talking about that because that's in my series read-through video. I also have the Silmarillion on my reading pile. I've read it before, but I haven't read it this year yet, so I'm just counting it as my official read. What I'm doing with that one is I'm listening to it as I go to bed, and then I backtrack because I have it timed. I'm listening to it through Libro FM, and I have it timed for like about 4 hours, so I just backtrack like 3 hours roughly. And this sounds kind of counterproductive, but just so I can count it, I do backtrack quite a bit. Because it does take me a little while to go to sleep. So it's like, I usually the next day, I vaguely remember where I left off. So I just backtrack like 3.5 hours. So I'll get through it quickly because it's like, anyway, it makes sense in my head. But again, I have read it before, which is why I'm counting this as my read through for this year for the Silmarillion. So I have that. I have Volume 4 of Heaven Official's Blessing. I have, is it Broken Country or Broke Country? It's Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. I'm not going to talk about the Silmarillion too much just because there's so much going on with that. But with Broken Country, I don't want to use let's refer to Reese's Book Club. Just okay, so in the description, Beth and her gentle, kind husband Frank are happily married, but their relationship relies on the past staying buried. But when Beth's brother-in-law shoots a dog going after their sheep, Beth doesn't realize that the gunshot will alter the course of their lives. For the dog belongs to none other than Gabriel Wolfe, the man Beth loved as a teenager, the man who broke her heart years ago. Gabriel has returned to the village with his young son Leo, a boy who reminds Beth very much of her own son who died in a tragic accident. As Beth is pulled back into Gabriel's life, tensions around the village rise, and dangerous secrets and jealousies from the past resurface, this time with deadly consequences. Beth is forced to make a choice between the woman she once was and the woman she has become. So, I think I've like unintentionally read a lot from Reese's Book Club. Like, it's not that I intentionally avoid Reese's Book Club, but like I don't actively go after those books either. So I'm currently listening to that as an audiobook, and usually I play that when I'm crocheting right before bed. So because that's also something I've been trying to do. I'm not focusing so much on it in this video, but I have been trying to balance the hobbies a little bit more. I don't know if I talked about that in this video, but it's like I'm trying to balance out when I can listen to audiobooks, when I can do physical reading, when I can crochet, and when I can cook and bake and stuff. For me, cooking and baking is a little bit easier to carve out a spot for, a time for. It's just balancing the crocheting and the reading, figuring out what to do when. So what I'm going to do now, because the fourth book that I have on my currently reading pile is Letters from Father Christmas. And what I'm going to do, I have read like the first couple pages, but what I am going to do, like the illustrations, I love Tolkien. What I'm going to do right now is just for like the next half hour or so, is I think I should be able to get through this pretty quickly because it's a very tall book and it's skinny, and the letters should be pretty easy to get through. So I'm not too worried about this taking super long. How much, how many pages is this? 207. But again, it's tall and thin, and it's not like every single page I have to read, because most of the letters have a written out version, like a typed out version. So yeah, we're gonna focus on Letters from Father Christmas, just so I can kind of knock off another book off of my currently reading pile for the next half hour. So I'm gonna focus on this, and let's see. Silmarillion, I'm not worried about. Broken Country. I always want to say Brokeback Country because of like Brokeback Mountain, even though I've never watched that. Broken Country, I'm not too worried about. Heaven Official's Blessing, I'm not worried about. So let's just kind of keep it to somewhat of a minimum. So I'll check back in with you in about half an hour, or at the very least when I finish this. I also wanted to mention I'm going to have Hilda playing in the background. I'm not going to like be recording any of the reading, but I have Hilda playing in the background just because Hilda's such a cozy, just easy to watch show, easy to have in the background, and I love it so much. I'm not super thrilled about the third season of Hilda, but like, it is what it is, you know? So yeah, I'm just gonna have that playing. I'm on episode 1 of season 2. So yeah, I'm gonna read this, have Hilda playing in the background, and then I'll check back in with you when I can. Okay, so like mid-reading update, I've made quite a bit of progress. Like, I love these letters so much. Like, if and when I ever have kids, I'm gonna do this for my kids. It's like, I think I mentioned this when I mentioned I was starting this book. My mom would do something similar, because I would, in my letters to Father Christmas, to Santa Claus, I would ask how Mrs. Claus were, how the reindeer and the elves were. So like, my mom would write down on a piece of paper as Santa, like, saying everyone's good, thank you so much for asking, something along those lines. And something else my mom would do, which for me at least made Christmas very special, and for my sister as well, is that all the presents, like from her, from my dad, from like anyone else, like all the presents would be like various wrapping papers. But any presents from Santa Claus were always in a specific wrapping paper that was not used on any other presents in our household. And like, basically, like, it would usually it was like a red wrapping paper with Santa Claus on it, Santa Claus faces on it, and that wrapping paper was not used on any other presents. And she would use like a very curly Q handwriting. So it's like, there was that as well, which is like, oh my god, these ones are from Santa, these ones are from Santa. So like, I kind of carried that on, where it's like, I typically use like one wrapping paper for my sister if it's from me, and then I use another from my mom, and then we still will occasionally write like from Santa, just to keep that little memory alive. And any ones that's from Santa, I do as like a different wrapping paper. Like, it varies, because it's like, I'm not doing all the wrapping for my mom and my sister and me, but like, I still like have like a separate one from Santa when I'm wrapping stuff. So like, I kind of carried it on, but I'm gonna do that with my kids, as well as do letters to my kids from Santa. Okay, so I have now finished letters from Father Christmas to the Tolkien children, and honestly, these are so sweet. It's like, the thing with this, it's not similar to nonfiction. It's similar to nonfiction in the sense of like, I don't know how to rate it, because it is so personal. Like, it's real people, it is so personal, it's real children who still believe in Santa. I believe in the idea of Santa. Like, I believe in the idea behind Santa and what that means. Like, in the Here Comes Santa Claus story, it's Fred Astaire's character. I always think of him as SD something. The delivery guy that Fred Astaire plays in Here Comes Santa Claus, the Rankin and Bass short. It's like, he's talking about like the idea of that Santa Claus stands for and represents, like love, giving from the heart, like truly giving from the heart, like that kind of stuff. And like, I believe in that, and like, that for me is Santa Claus. So it's like, with this is like, these are children who still believe in Santa Claus as a person, as a real person. And this is a father helping to create that magic for his kids. And so it's like kind of hard to rate. I would probably, just for like the commitment to the bit and the devotion he had for his kids, I would give this like a 5 out of 5 stars. And again, this is something that I will want to do for my own kids. If and when I have kids, like that, this is something I'm going to be doing. Yeah, I'm going to have to hide this book away when I have kids. Or I might not, I'll just keep it on a really high shelf. Anyway, so that is that. We're going to choose the next book in one moment once I get this back on the shelf. I've also kind of decided while I was putting that back that since I'm on a little bit of a Christmas fence, I am going to read Christmas Carol. I will probably read this a little bit closer to Christmas, reread it a little closer to Christmas. But since I'm on a Christmas fence, I might as well get my official yearly read out of the way for this. And I think I've talked about it before on this channel when I did my Christmas Carol watches, the Patrick Stewart Hallmark one. I love Patrick Stewart, but that one is awful. And then the Disney one, not the Mickey Mouse one, but the Disney one with, what's his name, Jim Carrey? Yeah, Jim Carrey. That one wasn't terrible. I would probably put that one above the Patrick Stewart one, sadly. But that one was not good either. I know people like it. I just, no, absolutely not. So I'm very particular with my Christmas Carol renditions, and it's not because of the book itself, although that is part of it, but I think a large part of it is because I grew up largely on the George C. Scott one and the Muppet one and the Mickey Mouse one, that those ones are like absolutely top tier for me, especially the George C. Scott one. That one is like top tier, absolutely top tier. And I love the Muppet one too, and the Mickey Mouse one. Like, I love all of them, but like the George C. Scott one, like, I absolutely love. Like, if I had to choose between the three of them, it would be the George C. Scott one. I love, as much as I love the Muppets, and as much as I love Mickey Mouse, I would have to choose George C. Scott. But if I don't have to choose, I'm taking all three. But yeah, I'm very particular with my Christmas Carol retellings because of how much I love the George C. Scott one, and how amazing of a production that was, and how amazing of a job that George C. Scott did as Ebenezer Scrooge. Like, that one was perfect. But I'm very particular with my retellings. I do really like the book. Funnily enough, I can't quite remember how close the Disney one, the Jim Carrey Disney one is, but funnily enough, the closest one to the book is the Patrick Stewart one, which is the one I absolutely detest. Again, as much as I love Patrick Stewart. So we're going to read this. I'll give you an update once I'm done with this. My update might just end up being tomorrow, just timing wise, because it is getting to when I need to do a couple of my chores and stuff around the house and household duties. So Christmas Carol, I'm gonna read, and then once I read this, I will move on to my next read for this. And I had to add Letters from Father Christmas to the books that I read during my series read through. Heaven Official's Blessing. I do have to add Letters from Father Christmas to that list. So I'll be back probably tomorrow, probably in like a minute or so for you guys. I'll be back with an update. Okay, so I also realized I forgot to mention the book that came in the mail today from Barnes & Noble. This one is The Gift for My Friend, or one of the gifts for my friend. It is the Song of... I was getting the two titles mixed up. And then I was just about to say Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's Sunrise on the Reaping, this recent edition that came out. My friend is gonna love this version. She was a little bit hesitant about it when I asked her about it, just because she was like, she wanted just a full set. But I was just like, you know what? I might as well just get this for her anyway. And if they come out with more editions for the Hunger Games in this style, at least she'll have this one, and then can slowly start building up her collection. And I've also coordinated with one of our other friends just to make sure that she's not double gifted with this. So I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted to get this for myself now and get the Hunger Games, but just because of our current society, I'm just turning this off. Dystopian's not my go-to genre. Like I understand it's very important in certain books, and authors have left a big imprint on literature and the way we see things, and the Hunger Games is definitely one of those series. Dystopian's not really my thing. So yeah, I still might get this, at least if it's like these editions, I might get it. I'm at the very least, I'll start off with like Sunrise on the Reaping for myself when I go to Barnes & Noble, and then maybe like one or two other books. But yeah, at the very least, it's more of like a statement piece. I did try reading it. I did enjoy the movies. It's just book-wise, dystopian's not really my thing. So yeah, anyway, this is the book I got from my friend in the mail today. Okay, so I have a bunch of stuff to go through with you, and I think I'm going to wrap this video up with this update. just because like I am trying to do longer form videos. However, I'm also trying to keep it somewhat reasonable. So I'm going to end this video here. I went to Barnes & Noble today for my birthday with some friends, and I had a really great time. And I just, either when I go to Barnes & Noble, either I'm pretty good about recording, or I just get so caught up with talking with my friends and like looking at books. So it's either I record a bit for videos, or I just record absolutely nothing. And absolutely nothing is what happened today. So before I get into the books that I've gotten, I did finish Christmas Carol. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars when I initially read it last year or the year before. I gave it a 4.5 stars again, just because it's like, I think part of it is because I grew up on the movie, and I just, on the movies, especially George C. Scott and the Muppet one, and it just, I was expecting a little bit more than like a short story, but it is a short story, so I get it, and it is good for what it is. So Christmas Carol, finished that. Wow, I did not realize I paused it. I have no idea what I was saying. So I'm going to talk about the books that I got. I have no idea where I stopped, but I think I was about to put Christmas Carol back. So the first 3 books I'm going to talk about are from Book of the Month, and they came yesterday, the day before I'm recording this part. So I've gotten quite a few books over the course of 48 hours. The first 2 books I'm going to talk about were more of an impulsive buy, plus the free book for my birthday from Book of the Month. They were more impulsive based on title and cover, and I didn't know a whole lot about the premise, which sometimes I think those can go really well. Like, not knowing, I mean, you don't always want to do this, but I think it can be really good to get a book based on the cover, you know, or at the very least know like the first paragraph of the premise or the synopsis, because then it's like you can learn about the story. Because I think too many synopses today go into too much detail about what it's about and give too much away. Like, I think the description for one of them gives too much away. I'm not, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books to get through. I'm not going to talk about the descriptions for all of these. I'm just going to talk about the description for the one I'll read next. So, first up is Hemlock and Silver by Kingfisher. I have seen other books by this author, and I think this might be a good introduction. I will say this is giving me heavy Apothecary Diaries vibes, so I think I'll enjoy this. And then, next up, is that intentional? Maybe that was for me. I don't know. Next up is Violet Thistlewhaite Is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Krempholtz. And then next up, the last book of the month book is the sequel to What the River Knows, I think it's called, by Isabel Ibanez. And this is Where the Library Hides. Again, I'm really not going to talk about this one because this is a sequel, so... And because I'm just trying to wrap up this video right now, I'm not talking too much about these. But again, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 books to kind of get through. Next up, this was a gift from one of my friends. She got it as a free book, and she had already given some other copies to some of our other friends, some of her other friends. And it is Deep-End by Hazelwood. And she had told me, she's like, I know romance isn't your thing. I wanted to give this to you just in case you wanted to try it, but I'm not going to be offended if you want to like sell it or re-gift it or give it away. I'm not going to be offended. So I will say that the edges are very interesting. And we were talking today actually at the bookstore, because there were so many like sprayed edges, how it's just like, it's no longer a special thing anymore. And I was telling her, I was like, I mean no offense because I know you like Fourth Ring, but with how many editions there are of Fourth Ring, it's no longer special. And for me, like, I've fallen subject to this. I have quite a few editions of Lord of the Rings. I don't call any of them special. I think there's only one edition of Lord of the Rings that I really call a special edition. But there's like at this point, there is no special edition of books anymore because of how many editions are pumping out, especially for Fourth Wing. But it's like, there is no special edition anymore. They're all just different editions. So Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I don't know if I'll try this, but I think I might, just to see, because I know a lot of people like the author Ali Hazelwood. So I might try to see how it is. And then the next book, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books are books I got from Barnes & Noble today. The first 3 are ones I got for myself. Well, one of them. The first 3, out of the first 3, one of them was a gift for my sister while we were at Barnes & Noble. And then the other 2 are ones I got for myself. And then the last 2 I'm going to talk about are gifts I got for other people. So first up is the Mademoiselle Alliance from Natasha Lester. What I will say about this one is that I knew back at the end of 2024, I knew that this was being published early 2025. I forgot about it and then knew it was being remembered. Oh, it's going to be published soon, and then forgot about it and then remembered it and then forgot about it. And then today I was like, oh my god, I just need to get this. So I looked for it. I found it. There was only 2 copies. So yeah, I'm really happy I got this today because now my Natasha Lester collection is complete until she publishes her next book. So the next book I'm going to talk about is the book I got as a gift. This was I'm lucky enough, I'm in between 2 Barnes & Nobles. I'm like equidistant from them. I'm like right in the middle of them. And the one that I usually go to has a cafe. And sometimes what this cafe will do is they'll have like a little sale of a specific book where if you're buying something, you can also get it if you're buying something from the cafe, you can also get the book for $5, whatever book is listed. Today it was Murder at Holly House by Denzil Merrick. In a Village of Lies, Death Comes with Snow. So I've been wanting to read more Christmassy stuff, but like there's just so much Christmas romance in that, like, and you're like cheesy Hallmark rom-com Christmas books, which isn't bad, it's just not my kind of book. So hopefully I'll enjoy a Christmas murder mystery. So that's what this is. And also the back corner was slightly bent. That was my fault. So that happened after we had left. And then the last book that I had gotten for myself is the first volume of the hardback edition of Have an Official Blessing by Mojang Tongju. It is a Tianguan Shifu. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but yeah, I'm so happy. I'm going to slowly collect these ones over time. I am going to I think I've talked about this on this channel, and I think I talk about it in my, in my read through, but I'm going to have the paperbacks as my official like reading ones, and then read the hardbacks like once, but these ones are purely going to be decorative, which is okay. I think if you're gonna have decorative books, I think there needs to be a balance between how many books you have as decorative and then how many books you're actually reading. And usually if I have decorative books, I usually try to only have books be decorative when I only try to get books that I intend to be more decorative when it's a book that I've really enjoyed. So Have an Official's Blessing, I know it's gonna wreck me. I'm on like volume 4 right now. I know it's gonna wreck me, but I know that that's a series that I will love forever, so it's worth it to get a decorative series. And it's the funniest thing because I'm like terrible at drinking. Like I'm amazing at drinking water. I survive on water the way other people survive on coffee. And then it's like, even if I bring water to Barnes & Noble, it's usually in one of these, so I'm not carrying that around the bookstore with me because I wouldn't be able to stick it in my bag. So it's like I usually leave it in the car, but then it's like I don't drink water, especially when I'm out with friends. I'm like really bad about drinking water, so I'm trying to drink water. So the next 2 books I got are the ones I got as gifts to give to people. The first one is for my dad. I don't know if my dad watches my YouTube, so Dad, don't watch this part if you're watching. The next one is for my dad, and that is Cabinet of Curiosities, the book by Aaron Mahnke and Harry Marks, and this is just based off the podcast that Aaron Mankey did called Cabinet of Curiosities. I might try to read this before I gift it to him, or if anything, I'll just get myself a copy of this at another time. So that's Cabinet of Curiosities, which I'm setting aside. And then the last book I got was Giuseppe's Easy Bakes, and this I got for one of my friends who was with me, and I told her, I was like, I'm getting this for you for Christmas. So I at least have one Christmas present for her. What's that? Coconut torta coco marina. Coconut and amarena cherry cake. Sounds good. So, date cake. I really liked Giuseppe, and I would want to talk more about the Bake Off contestants and just Bake Off, but at the same time, it's like, these are real people, and I do watch it more for the bakers rather than Prue and Paul. And I don't want to be critiquing the bakers, because it's like, it would be so hard to be in that kind of environment. So yeah, I don't talk about it too much. I do have a video at like the start of January, I think like the second week of January, where I'm watching the first episode of Bake Off. But yeah, and I do have the rest of my thoughts for the rest of the season, this 2025's season of Bake Off. I do have the rest of my thoughts in the description for that video. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be like the second Friday of January 2026. So, but I got Giuseppe's Easy Bakes. So, I was looking for Jürgen's Christmas, the German Christmas baking book, cookbook, but I couldn't find it at my Barnes & Noble. I might just have to order that. So that is the end of the books that I've gotten over the past 48 hours. As for the book that I'm going to start reading, I am going to wrap up this video here, but I wanted to just end on a note of like what I'm reading next, since I did finish Christmas Carol. I've been talking too much today. That's also why I'm so thirsty. I'm gonna read Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. And a main reason why I want to read this is I want to see if my friend will like it or not before gifting it to her. So I might just give her this copy and then get another edition for myself. We'll see. But Hemlock and Silver, you're following healer Anya. And she basically drinks poison, not to die, but to save, seeking cures for those everyone else has given up on. But a summons from the king interrupts her quiet, herb-obsessed life. His daughter Snow is dying, and he hopes Anya's unorthodox methods can save her. Aided by a taciturn guard, a narcissistic cat, and a passion for the scientific method, Anya rushes to treat Snow. But nothing seems to work. That is, until she finds a secret world hidden inside a magic mirror. This dark realm may hold the key to what is making Snow sick, or it might be the thing that kills them all. So this seems to be a Snow White retelling mixed with like poison. This is giving me serious Apothecary Diaries. When did this come out? 2025. This was this year. I feel like this author might like the Apothecary Diaries because it's just like with some of the characters. This is giving me serious Apothecary Diaries vibes, and I would not be surprised if T. Kingfisher was an Apothecary Diaries fan. So I'm going to start off reading this. Or, yeah, I'm going to read this and then possibly gift it to my friend. So, that is where this video is ending. Thank you so much for watching. Like usual, let me know if these longer form reading vlogs are ones you like. And if I should continue doing more longer form reading vlogs, let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.